Go.
Good afternoon. This is the DVMUG Zoom meeting for December 2nd, 2025. My name is Lee Wagner. I'm your host for today. We'll follow the customary scheme of news, followed by videos, miscellany, questions and answers, and social hour. And so we'll move on to this week's news. Now, this week's news is that yesterday was Cyber Monday. And every news source that I could find was very much into Cyber Monday. But I did manage to find something anyway. Here's some news items for the Zoom meeting, and this is on the BBS at this time for you to gain
Also,
access.
I just put it in the chat. Video and news is in the chat.
Okay. And on longer term, it's on the BBS, so you can get to it one way or the other. Following are synopses on these news items. Apple's maps and ads face new EU scrutiny under the Digital Markets Acts by Amber Neely of Apple Insider. EU regulators are investigating Apple for Digital Markets Act violations, but this time it's the company's maps and advertising services that are under the microscope. Previous EU regulator rulings affected Apple's App Store policies, Safari browser, Apple Pay, and Apple Music. If the investigation confirms the violation of DMA regulations in these issues, Apple will be required to comply within 6 months. Apple, for its part, has argued that the DMA should be repealed. The company believes that the act harms Apple and its customer base while providing benefits only to other big tech companies like the actually dominant music streaming service Spotify. So any thoughts on that issue? On to the next. Made in the USA. Intel foundries may get used for Apple's M7 processor, according to Oliver Haslam of Apple Insider. Until now, all M-series chips used in Macs and iPads have been built by TSMC, that's Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, at its factories in China and elsewhere. But a new report by supply chain analyst Ming-Chin Kuo suggests things are about to change. As for why Apple would want to bring Intel back into the supply system chain after spending several years trying to do the opposite, Kuo suggests that there are two key reasons. One, the first is a continued effort by Apple to diversify its supply chain. It sought to avoid a heavy reliance on single companies and Chinese factories in particular, since the COVID-19 pandemic caused mayhem in its supply chain. Item two, interestingly, is that Kuo believes that Apple sees using Intel's US-based factories as a way to appease United States President Donald Trump. Trump has long sought to push companies to bring manufacturing back to the States, something Apple has struggled to do. Any thoughts or comments?
Yeah,
Um,
go ahead.
I'm wondering if Intel is going to be able to come up with the 3 nano or 2 nano meter chips.
The story I read that they're not going to make the high-end chips. Those are only be able to made in Taiwan by TMC. They're going to make the lower-end chips, which are not the high-end factories. So they're still going to have a couple year wait here to get up to speed to be able to make any chips. Intel's really hurting.
Mhm.
They're just going to be Apple's going to design them and contract Intel to make them. They're not Intel chips anymore. They're Apple chips. They're just going to be outsource them. That's a good idea to like bring them here and And something happens in Taiwan, all your eggs in one basket, you're out of business.
Well,
Yeah, I think that's one of the concerns they have is something may happen to Taiwan in the near future.
It's possible China could do something to Taiwan.
I thought they were trying to move some to India. But, I don't know.
It takes a long time to build these factories and a lot of money.
Okay. Next item is that Apple's N1 chip improves Wi-Fi performance, according to Adam Engst of Tidbits, who in fact is reporting on data gleaned from Ookla's speed test intelligence. Luke Kehoe writes, Apple's N1 chipset is a substantial upgrade. The iPhone 17 family delivers a clear step change in Wi-Fi performance um, versus the Broadcom-based iPhone 16 lineup, with faster download and upload speeds across every region. Globally, median download and upload speeds on the N1 were each up to 40% higher than on its predecessor. The new iPad Pro also features N1, a new Apple-designed wireless networking chip that enables Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, and Thread. N1 brings better performance when connected to 5 gigahertz networks and improves the overall performance and reliability of features like personal hotspot and AirDrop. Ookla's data, however, shows that the N1 chip provides up to 40% better Wi-Fi performance than the Broadcom-supplied Wi-Fi radio in the iPhone 16 lineup. More importantly, the N1's biggest wins occur when Wi-Fi connectivity is poor. Download speeds at the 10th percentile improve by roughly 60%, while the 90th percentile sees a bit over 20%. So Apple's N1 chip is good on the Wi-Fi. Comments or questions?
The rumor is that there's going to be a new Apple HomePod and a new Apple TV box, and they will have these new chips in them. So there's also a rumor that these Wi-Fi chips have the capacity to be a Wi-Fi router. Even though they're not touting those, supposedly that's built into the hardware, so they could turn the Apple TV into a home router, and home pods could be satellites, which would be very cool. There could be a feature that they actually just, the hardware is there. Like there was a feature in the HomePod Mini that nobody knew about. They have temperature and a humidity sensor in them. And with a software update, all of a sudden they just turned it on and it works. Say, hey Siri, what's the temperature in here? Hey Siri, what's the humidity in here?
Or the Wi-Fi
Humidity in the
chips.
main bedroom is normal at 46%.
There was also the Wi-Fi chip that had FM radio, which Apple decided never to turn on, but they could have.
What was that in? I vaguely remember that.
It was in a number of early devices. I don't remember exactly what they all were.
Yeah, there was way back in the Performas, I had one that had an Apple TV card that had a TV tuner, and I believe it had an FM tuner, but you can't have AM. AM doesn't work in any of that kind of stuff.
The iPod Nano had a radio,
Really? An AM radio?
FM radio.
Yeah, an FM. You can't do AM.
Yeah.
Too much interference. Yeah, the Apple TV card was an option in the Performa. It was kind of cool. I mean, you plugged in your actual coax cable and it had a tuner in it. And I believe it had an FM tuner in it too.
All right, moving on. How to watch a Charlie Brown Christmas for free on Apple TV. Roman Loyola of Macworld. Apple is making a Charlie Brown Christmas available free to anyone with an Apple ID on December 13th and 14th. The special can be watched through the TV app on various devices, including iPhones, iPads, Macs, smart TVs, and the web. While this classic Peanuts special is free for a limited time, other specials like It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and It's Charlie Brown Thanksgiving require an Apple TV subscription. So on December 13th and 14th, if you care to...
The same thing, the Great Pumpkin and the Thanksgiving ones were free for 2 days, slightly before Halloween and Thanksgiving. They do that every year.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we move on to the videos. This is just to show you that there are videos, and these are on the BBS for you to be able to either in PDF form, so you can click on the URLs and get to them. First video is by Brooks Tierney of Brooks Tierney at Brooks Tierney. 8 hidden iPad features you probably don't know but should. These videos that I have today, I think are going to open one or two of you to interesting stuff. In this video, I'm breaking down 8 hidden iPad features, she says, that'll seriously level up how you use your device, whether you're working, studying, or just trying to get stuff done faster.
If you have an iPad, then you probably know how awesome they are. They're incredibly powerful, yet super portable. And while they are pretty easy to use, there are some cool hidden features that can really enhance your iPad experience and boost your productivity. So here are 8 hidden iPad features that you need to know. One of the benefits of an iPad versus, let's say, a Mac is that the iPad is a touchscreen. So there are some pretty intuitive gestures that you can use to navigate around your iPad. And so when you're in an app full screen, you probably know that you can just quickly swipe up to get back to your home screen. Or if you swipe up but hold, you can see all of your open apps. Those actions are possible because of this little white bar that's basically like a trackpad, but you can also use it to just quickly swipe between any of your open apps to just save yourself a few steps. Another option is to use 4 fingers on your screen to do the same thing. If the 4-finger swipe didn't work for you, you can head into your settings, down to multitasking and gestures, and make sure the 4 or 5-finger app switching is toggled on. If there are any websites that you are constantly going to, what you can do to save yourself a few steps instead of always having to go to Safari is you can actually add the website as an app on your home screen. So to set this up, what you need to do is go into Safari and go to the website that you want to save. This is a little bit of a shameless plug, but if you didn't know, I do have Amazon storefronts set up for both Canada and the US with all of the products I'm currently using and the products that I love to keep it easy and all in one place. And I will be updating this soon before Black Friday and the holidays. So let's say this was the website that I did want to save for easy access. What I would do is go up to the share button in the top right, and then I would hit more, and then you'll see an option to add to home screen. At the top, you have the option of renaming it, and then you can just hit the check mark, and then you'll see it's added it as an app on my home screen. So the next time I want to go to my Amazon store, instead of going to Safari and typing in the URL, I can just come in here, click on the app, and it'll bring me right into this website. Having a home screen with a million different apps that you don't use very often can be distracting and can get pretty cluttered fairly quickly. If we head into settings and then search for newly downloaded apps, I recommend selecting that newly downloaded apps are only placed in the app library and not on your home screen. I just find it gives me a little bit more control. Once an app is downloaded, I can then choose which folder I want it to go in, or if I even want it on my home screen at all. And then another thing I like to do is toggle on Show App Library in the dock. So then I see the app library in my dock, and all of the recently downloaded apps will be visible here so that they're easier to find and I can just click to get into the full app library. If though you don't want your app library in your dock, you can always get to the app library by just swiping over from your home screen, and then you'll see your recently added apps in the top left. And then if you wanted to, you could click and hold to drag any of your apps onto your home screen or place it in the appropriate folder. Another really handy thing to know is when you're in an app in full screen and you want to get to your dock, to save yourself a few steps, what you can do is just quickly swipe up to see your dock and then go into whatever app you're looking for. And I find this especially handy because I've added my downloads folder to my dock. So if I'm working in notes and let's say I've downloaded a photo that I want to add into my notes, I can now just quickly click on the file and drag it into my notes without actually having to leave the notes app to go to the file app, find the photo and drag it in. And the ability to add folders to your dock is new in iPadOS 26. So if you want to learn how to do that and see some of the other new features in iPadOS 26, I'll link that video down below. This next one used to be one of my biggest pain points on my iPad because it was a feature I could do so easily on my Mac and could never figure out how to do on my iPad. And that's the ability to have two windows of the same app open at the same time. So what I mean by this is, let's say we go into Safari. I could, of course, always just open a new tab and then tap between two tabs. But sometimes I want to actually be able to see both tabs open at the same time. So what you would do is go to the app, so let's say Safari, and long press, and then you'll see the option to open a new window. And then you could click on that and then go to the second website as normal. And then what you'll see when you go into your app switcher is you now have two Safari apps or tabs open, which means I can go into one of my Safari pages and flick it over to the side and then find the other one and do the same. Now you unfortunately don't have the option to do this in every app. For example, Amazon, there's no option to do it, but you do have the option in Notes, which I use all the time to open a new window. And I find this incredibly helpful if I want to reference an older note and write a new one at the same time. Another benefit of using an iPad is the ability to use an Apple Pencil, and there are some hidden features with this as well. But don't worry, even if you don't have an Apple Pencil, there is a way to do these with your finger, and I'll show you how to do both. When you want to take a screenshot, instead of breaking your focus and awkwardly trying to press both buttons at the same time to take the screenshot, the fastest way to do it with your Apple Pencil is drag up from the left side of your screen, or the same thing with my finger, up from the left side of the screen, and I've taken a screenshot. I'll show you how to set that up in a second if it's not working for you, but that's the bottom left-hand side of my screen. On the bottom right-hand side of my screen, if I use my Apple Pencil and swipe up, I can start a quick note, which I find incredibly useful if I'm typing out a script and suddenly get an idea for a new video. I can just quickly write it down with my Apple Pencil or click in to use the keyboard. And the great thing is, if I just swipe down, the quick note will stay here in case I do want to add anything else. And you can just click on that little handle to open it back up. But then once you press the check mark, if you go over to your table of contents here for your notes, you'll see a new section at the top with all of your quick notes, but you'll also just see it in all of your notes at the very top if it was the last note you edited. And same thing, if I don't have an Apple Pencil, I can just use my finger to create a quick note the exact same way. So to set this up for the Apple Pencil first, if you go into your settings and over to Apple Pencil, you can scroll down to pencil gestures at the bottom, and you can select bottom left corner, bottom right corner, whether it's screenshot, quick note, or turn it completely off. To be able to do that with your finger, you would go over to multitasking and gestures, and again, scroll down towards the bottom, and then you'll be able to turn on swipe finger from corner, and again, select screenshot or quick note. And here's a quick little bonus tip, but this one is Apple Pencil only. So let's say you're in a meeting or you're in class, but you're not currently using your iPad. The screen is dark, but you get an idea that you really quickly want to jot down. Using your Apple Pencil, you can just hold it on the screen to open another quick note. And if, like me, you cannot draw a perfect shape like a circle to save your life, well, the good news is your iPad can do it for you. So if I were to go to draw a circle with my Apple Pencil or even with my finger, my circles aren't great. So what I can do is long press on my circle and then head on over to this arrow in the menu to open this menu. And then you'll see snap to shapes. So I can click that and it's kind of turned my circle into a perfect circle and my what was supposed to be a circle actually into a perfect oval. But an even faster way to do this is after drawing my shape to just hold my pencil down. So if I go to draw a triangle, I hold my pencil down and it snapped to shape automatically. So those were 8 handy but less obvious iPad features that I think you should know. If there are any others that you use, let me know down in the comments. And that's it, so have a great day. Bye.
Well, comments or questions?
I like her.
Yeah, it might have slipped past you, but did you notice that when she wanted to show that she had Amazon as an app on her screen? She was using one of the things she told us she could do. It was sitting right there ready for her to use.
I think she's very good at what she does.
Yeah.
Very nice.
You
She
know,
certainly makes the case for an iPad, a pencil, doesn't she?
Yes, true.
Yeah.
this is confusing me more than anything. This is more like a Mac to start with, and I'm undecided now. Should I stay with a Mac? Should I get an iPad?
The iPad is still, I believe, the basic iPad, I think, is down to $279 on Amazon. Still for Black Week, whatever.
Uh-huh.
I think it's well worth it myself. I use my iPad, my phone, and my MacBook. You know, it's like only having one size screwdriver in your toolbox. You can get by.
Yeah.
Mac OS 26 now lets me switch things over to the iPad and back, and I've been able in a drawing app on the Mac to be able to use the iPad as a tablet to draw inside a Mac app
Ah.
by making it an extension of my display.
Mhm.
The Mac menus are on the iPad and on the Mac.
I got to say, the way you said that, it kind of, until I see it, it sounds kind of confusing to me, but it sounds like it's a great deal to be
Well,
able
you
to do.
can see your application menus of the Mac on the iPad when you set up the Mac. When you set up the iPad, it's an extension of displays on your Mac.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a second screen. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a second monitor.
Sharon, were you
Sharon,
trying?
you're being very,
Thanks. Okay, just briefly, which I don't have an iPad yet, but I'm trying to figure out how to use it for a friend who has one. But I like the feature where she made an app out of, instead of doing a bookmark on the iPad, you make an
yeah.
app out of it. And I've noticed on my desktop that our Mac Mini, 26 does save the last 2 websites like on the desktop. So I can just click on that rather than going to bookmarks and trying to find it, which I find very handy because it's usually on my brain first thing. That's all I was commenting.
Yeah, you can do that on your
You can
phone
do that
too.
on a Mac as well.
That's what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I do it on my phone all the time. Like if I need to get a BART schedule,
Oh wait. Oh, Jerry, you mean make a website
just make a little icon that's
on the desktop?
on your phone to go to
Yeah,
like
I think
your BART scheduling and stuff.
we go over that before. Probably. I don't find it that necessary that I would trouble doing that, but it's I don't know how iPads work too, but it's so that's a good feature. Anyway, thanks. That's it.
All right. Well, we go on. Second video is by Gary Rosenzweig, MacMost. Top 10 things users don't know they can do on their iPhone. Did you know you can copy text from signs using your camera? That you can drag and drop items between apps? You can perfectly position the cursor in text with a hidden trackpad? You can use your iPhone and AirPods as a listening device? Learn how to access these features and more.
Hi, this is Gary with MacMost.com. Here are 10 things that many iPhone users don't know that they can do with their iPhone. So here are some of the features that when I tell people about them, they can't believe they didn't know that their iPhone could do this. Let's start with creating a ringtone from just about anything. If you can record something with your microphone, you could set it as your ringtone. All you need to do is go to the Voice Memos app that comes with iOS. Go into that and just record with your microphone, you saying something or any noise in the environment, like this. Ring, ring. And then tap the 3 dots there. And then choose Share. Now look for Use as Ringtone. And this will add it as a custom ringtone to your ringtones list in Settings. And you could assign it as your main ringtone, a text tone, or a custom ringtone for any contact in the Contacts app. Now, sometimes we take pictures of things for reference. Sometimes we want to scan in a document. But other times we just want to copy text. You don't have to take a picture to do that. You can use visual intelligence on newer iPhones and copy the text right from that. All you need to do is activate visual intelligence either with the action button or using Control Center, and then freeze the shot, and then you could tap and hold, and now you can select text and copy it. But if your iPhone's too old or in the wrong region to have Apple Intelligence, you can do the same thing with the Magnifier app. So just launch the Magnifier app and then tap Capture when you have the text in view. And now tap and hold, and you can adjust the selection and copy. If you find these videos valuable, consider joining the more than 2,000 others that support MacMost at Patreon. You get exclusive content, course discounts, and more. You can read about it at macmost.com/Patreon. This is a really basic one, but I'm surprised many people don't use this even though it's been around for a long time. You can use Search, sometimes called Spotlight, on your iPhone as a basic interface for almost everything. All you need to do to activate Search is just do a little drag down in the middle of the screen like this. And now you can type what you want. So for instance, you can use this to launch apps by simply typing the first few letters of the app and then tapping the app icon. You can also just start typing a person's name and you'll get quick access to their contact. But more importantly, you can start FaceTime, messages, or a phone call with them, or look at your communication history for that person. It's often the quickest way to simply get to a conversation in Messages to send a new message. Start typing the name of a file and we'll find files in the Files app, like this Keynote document and this text document right here. No need to go into the Files app at all, just to find a document to launch an app with it. You can also quickly get to Settings by starting to type the setting name. Like you can jump right into text replacements, which usually takes lots of taps to get to. Or you can get to Bluetooth this way, although some settings like Bluetooth actually show you a switch right here in the search results. You could even find Safari results here, including your history and bookmarks, and just jump right to it, saving lots of taps. You can pretty much access your entire iPhone, doing everything you need by starting with Spotlight Search like this. Now, when you need to take content from one app and bring it to another, you can do it using 2 fingers, one finger to drag and the other to switch apps. So for instance, here I am in Mail composing a new message. Now let's say I want to attach a photo to it. I can use the Attachments button here and find the photo and all of that. But I could also just switch to the Photos app, find the photo I want, and with one finger I'm going to tap and start dragging like that. Then with the other finger I'm going to switch apps by dragging out from the bottom, go back to the app I want, and then drag and drop right in here, and it will insert that content. Here I am doing the same thing, but with a file in the Files app. I can take this PDF right here, tap and start dragging it, and then switch to Mail and drag it in and drop it right there to attach the file. You can do it with selected text as well. Now with any photo, whether it's in the Photo app or you're viewing a file in the Files app, you can lift the subject out of the photo so easily and then also drag that somewhere else. So I can go in this photo here and tap and hold right there and start dragging around the subject. You can see the background isn't included. Now I can go to another app, like say back to Mail, like that, and drag and drop just the subject in here. You can drag it to any app that takes an image, like for instance, Notes or Messages. Now when typing, it can be hard to position the text cursor where you want. You can tap and place the cursor in different places, but it's hard to get it inside of a word, for instance. However, you could turn your entire keyboard here into a trackpad by just tapping and holding the space bar. And when you see all of the keys go blank like that, notice as you continue to drag, the text cursor moves around like you're using a trackpad on a computer. So you can drop it wherever you want, even inside a word. And you can use this for selecting as well. Start the same way by tapping and holding the space bar and go to the beginning of the selection, like right here. Now use another finger and tap and hold anywhere on that blank keyboard. And then start dragging again, and you'll see that you can make a selection like that. Then just release both fingers, and now you've got that text selected, and copy it or delete it or just start typing to replace it. You could even at this point start dragging it like this and do what I showed before, moving to another app and dropping it in. Now your iPhone has the ability to play white noise or background sounds. You can use this to help you concentrate while you're working or studying or to help you sleep. Just go into the Settings app here and then go down to Accessibility and then go down to Hearing and go to Audio Visual. Then look here for background sounds. Go into this and you can choose the sound. There are a whole bunch of different ones to choose from. And then you could turn it on with this switch. You can change the volume. You can determine whether or not while other media is playing, if the background sound continues. You can adjust the sound using an equalizer here. You can even have a timer automatically turn the background sounds off. Now, depending upon the model of iPhone you've got, you have a side or top button. You've got volume up and down. You may have an action button and a camera control as well. But you could add two other ways to interact physically with your iPhone by turning on back tap in Accessibility. So go in Accessibility and look under Touch and then go to the bottom here and you'll see back tap. And there are two types of back taps, double tap and triple tap. So to use these, what you need to do is hold your iPhone steady and then tap either twice or 3 times on the back very quickly, like that. You can see how that activated Control Center because that's what I've got the double tap set to. But you could change what each of these does by going in, and there's a long list of things. There's a whole bunch of other system things that can be done. There are accessibility settings that can be changed. There are gestures, and you could set it to any shortcut that you create. So you can create shortcuts for, say, launching apps or setting focus and have a double or triple back tap activate that shortcut. Now this next feature can also be found in Accessibility and then go to Audio Visual and then look for Live Listen. And Live Listen has requirements concerning your iPhone hardware and your AirPods hardware. And it also works with some hearing aids too. If everything you have is compatible and your AirPods are connected to your iPhone, then you should see Start Live Listen here. And you could start listening and it's going to use the microphone on your iPhone and send that audio to your AirPods. So you could say, place your iPhone by the TV and then hear the audio from the TV better than you may be able to hear it, say, from across the room. In addition, if you go into Control Center, you should see there at the top, Live Listen. You can go in and change things and say, set it to voice isolation mode or wide spectrum. Plus, somewhere here in Control Center, in this case, it's on my second page, you should see this button. You go into this and you should find a transcript there at the bottom where it says listening ... And you can also use the little 10-second back button to rewind and listen to the audio from 10 seconds ago in case you missed something. And you can see the transcript there going as I talk and the microphone's picking this up. Live Listen is really pretty incredible. If you've got the right hardware, try it out. You won't believe how well it works. And finally, did you know that you can use your iPhone as a measuring tape and as a level? Just look for the app that comes with your iPhone called Measure. Go into that. You just need to go to the starting point, like say right here, and then go to the ending point, like say right here, and we'll give you a measurement. And then if you go to level, then your iPhone acts as a level. You could set it down on a surface and hang pictures perfectly. I hope you found these useful. Thanks for watching.
Well, comments or questions?
Yes. The back touch, I set that for flashlight. And I'm always accidentally hitting the back of my phone and setting my touch. I don't know about that feature.
Burn a hole in your pocket, huh?
Change it to triple tap, and it's unlikely you'll do that.
Maybe, thanks.
Right.
We had people do double taps for screenshots and stuff to make it easier. The same thing. You end up with, like, at the end of the day, you got 15 screenshots you never even wanted.
And you're on your lock screen on iOS 26. There's a camera button and a flashlight right on the lock screen.
Yeah.
Also then
doesn't even unlock it. It just turns on the flashlight. Doesn't even unlock it. I don't think. I push flashlight. Yeah, I just turned it on. Turn it
wait,
off.
What are you doing, John?
On the lock screen.
Lock screen. Okay.
There's a camera and a flashlight.
At the
Right.
bottom.
Oh, right. And what are you doing? Yeah, definitely those. Yeah, definitely those. Right.
Yeah, it's been there a while.
Right.
And I think Gary pointed out one time, you can actually change those. You don't have to have a camera and a flashlight down there. When you do a new home screen, it gives you the option to change that.
Oh, yeah, I'm on the apps before that too, usually. Yeah, it's kind of awkward sometimes to go there.
Definitely can change that.
Oh.
I've got it set up to translate.
Can I have one more comment?
Sure.
When Gary showed how to isolate the subject of a photo by pressing on the main, subject, what I'm talking about. I don't know what he had. I have one with my cat on a blanket, and the app only lets me get most of the cat and part of the blanket. And I don't think there's a photo editor. I mean, I guess I need to go to a photo editor. I've tried preview just to cut out the rest of the blanket. I don't know. It's not the best.
Are they similar colors?
No, they're not. That's a white cat, and it's like a calico color blanket. I could text you, but I'm having problems with part of it. That's all.
Well, if the cat's kind of furry, maybe it doesn't quite recognize that.
Try doing a solid color blanket.
Yeah.
Well, the cat passed away, but that's okay. next cat, maybe.
Okay. Our third video is by Brooke Tierney again. 7 new iPad features you need to know. iPad OS 26 is here, and it's the biggest update ever. Apple is pushing the iPad closer to a full Mac replacement with a brand new design, powerful multitasking tools, and game-changing apps. In this video, I'll walk you through all the best new features you need to know about, from the redesigned Files app and smarter windowing to the all-new Preview app.
iPadOS 26 is arguably the biggest iPad software update ever, and it brings the iPad as close as it's ever been to a Mac. There are still some limitations, so it's not a complete Mac replacement for me personally, but these are the awesome new features that you need to know about. Quite a few different iPad models are eligible for this new software update, so here's a list of all of the compatible iPads. Feel free to pause to take a look to see if your iPad is one of them. And if you're not sure which iPad you have, it's really easy to check. You can just go into Settings, General, over to About, and then you'll see Model Name. The first major update is a visual one, and it is the new liquid glass look. But it's not just the iPad that gets this redesign. Now, all Apple devices have this more consistent, transparent design with more minimal and dynamic menus. The new look is quite polarizing. I find most people I speak to either love it or absolutely hate it. So if you are one of the people that are still struggling with liquid glass, I will pin in the comments my iOS 26 video that does cover the new design in more detail and gives some tips and tricks on how to live with it. There are also 3 new apps worth mentioning that you may have noticed downloaded on your iPad along with the software update. The first is a phone app. So now your iPad will have the phone app the same way your iPhone does. The second is the Journal app is finally available on iPads as well as on Macs. So this is huge. I've been waiting for this since the Journal app first came out on the iPhone. The third one is a brand new preview app that makes working with PDFs so much easier on your iPad, and we'll talk about that app in detail in a little bit. The biggest and most Mac-like new features on the iPad are the windowing and tiling options. And so now when you go to open an app for the first time, it will open in full screen like normal, but in the bottom right corner, you'll see a white handle that you can use to resize the window. So now I can just drag the handle to resize this window as much as I want, and you can now do that with multiple windows. So you're no longer forced into one full screen app. And so you can see here, I have multiple resize windows. I have News, Notes, Safari, Email, and Settings all in the same screen. And so to open a brand new window, you would just swipe up to get to your home screen, and then you can tap on the app like you normally would, and it'll save the window size. So I had already opened YouTube and sized it, so it remembers that in memory. And then if you swipe up from the bottom and hold, you'll get to your app switcher where you'll see all of the windowed apps from that screen together and any full screen apps you also have open. So if I click here, Instagram will open on a full screen, and I can resize it if I wanted to at the bottom, but you could also use the 4-finger swipe to switch between apps. So if I 4-finger swipe, it'll bring me over to my screen with all of my different windows open. So it's kind of like Spaces now. If you use those on your Mac, it's basically brought that to the iPad. Now this new windowing system can honestly take a while to get used to, and you may not even like it. It may not be beneficial at all for your workflow. So what you can do is if you go into Settings, you'll see a multitasking and gestures option. And then here at the top, you can now choose the default for your iPad. So if you don't like the new windowed apps option, you can select the full screen apps, and that way your iPad will go back to what it traditionally used to be. Or if you're someone that prefers Stage Manager, that's the third option on the right. I personally find myself actually going between all 3 options depending on what I'm working on. So what I recommend doing is if you go into your control center, you can now add the windowing as a toggle. So you can easily switch between the 3. So if you long press in the control center and add control, you would just search for multitasking to add it to your control center, and you can have it as a bigger button like I do or a single one. And then when the toggle's on, you'll be in the windowed app mode. If you turn it off, you'll be in full screen. And if you long press, you'll actually see the option for Stage Manager. So it's a really quick way to switch between all 3 modes depending on what you're working on, instead of having to go into the settings every single time. And when you're in the windowed app mode, here are a few helpful gestures. You can double tap at the top of any app to open it in full screen, and double tap again to revert it back to the windowed size. We unfortunately did lose the split view and slide over option that used to be at the top middle of the screen. I really wish they would have kept that at least in the full screen mode. So now the easiest way to go into split view is with a flick gesture. So now if you take one of your windows and kind of flick it to the side, it'll open there. You can do the same thing with another one to quickly get into split view. And then you do have a little toggle here in the middle in case you did want to adjust the sizing. Another awesome new feature in the windowed app mode is a menu bar like we're used to on the Mac. So for every app, if you pull down at the top, you'll now see more options in a menu bar, and it will tell you which app menu you're currently seeing in case you have multiple windows open at once. But then just like on the Mac, you have all of your different drop downs for all of these settings right at the top, which is awesome because a lot of these settings used to seem hidden or it wasn't intuitive to find them. Now I find it's a lot easier. And you'll notice for some of them, there are keyboard shortcuts on the side. So if you're using a Magic Keyboard with your iPad, the keyboard shortcuts are even faster. Another thing you may have already noticed is we now have the traffic light buttons on the iPad. But it is important to note that the 3 dots and the menu bar are only visible in the windowed app mode, not if you're in full screen mode. And same thing as on the Mac with these buttons, you can close an app, minimize, or full screen. And so if you close the app, it'll actually close it. You won't see it as an open app. But if you minimize it, you'll still see it as an option here. And then with the green button, if you long press on it, you then get the resizing and tiling options. So you can do the split screen from here or up and down. And even at the bottom, you can do 4 corners if you want. And here's a pro tip for tiling. If you do use a keyboard like the Magic Keyboard, you can hold globe control and then use your arrows to quickly tile a window. So this notes window I can use up, down, side to side. Thankfully, the Files app on the iPad got some much needed updates, and so now it's usable. So now when you go into the Files app, you can go over to the list view, and what you can do here is click the 3 dots on the right to add more columns, so whatever's useful for you. And then to the left of the header, you'll see a faint little divider or handle, and you can just use that to drag and resize the different columns. And now we can also customize folders to help with organization. So if you long press on a folder, you'll now see an option, customize folder and tags. If you click on that, you can actually select a little icon or an emoji for the folder. So these are the icons, but you can click here to actually get your traditional emoji keyboard. And then if you click on tags, this is where you can actually select the color of the folder. So I'm going to do purple, and then there you go. Another great new thing is if you long press on a folder, you'll now see an option to keep downloaded. So if you have a folder with really important documents, maybe contracts, or something you always want to make sure you can access, this is awesome because even if you're up in the air without Wi-Fi or reliable Wi-Fi, you'll still be able to access the files in that folder. If you work with a lot of different file types on your iPad, what you can now do is long press on the individual file and you'll see an option open with. So now you can set a default app to open that specific file type. So if you want your PNG files to always open with your photo editor of choice instead of the default preview app, you can set this up once for all of those types of files. You can also now have folders on your dock the same way you would on your Mac. So if you long press on a folder, towards the bottom, you'll now see an add to dock. And you can even add multiple folders to the dock. So they'll still be in the Files app, but now when you go to the dock, you'll see them here. And so when you click on them, by default, it'll open in the fan view like this. I don't always enjoy that. So if you long press on it, you'll see a few different options. You can sort the files in the folder, but you can also select here the grid view. So when I click on it, I find this looks a little bit more organized. And then you can long press again and go to options if you ever want to remove it from the dock. One of my favorite new updates is definitely the new preview app. So now when you go into your preview app, at the top, you'll see the option to create a new document or even scan a document right from here. And then at the bottom, you'll see some of your recent documents or images. So if I open up this PDF, you'll see on the left, you have your table of contents. So you can scroll through the different pages. You can click on the down arrow to the right of the name to do things like lock it, duplicate, even rename the file. You have your markup button with all of your tools if you wanted to highlight anything in the PDF. You can also pinch in and out to zoom and resize. If it's a PDF with text boxes to enter information, you can click this to autofill, and you'll then see a plus here at the bottom that you can click if you wanted to like add a signature or add your own text box to the PDF. This button is if you wanted to crop or resize, you would just do that, click, and you can say crop or copy that section. You can easily rotate the different pages. If you click on the eye, you get all the document information, which is super helpful if you wanted to check, let's say, the size of the PDF. You can quick share. You can search for anything in the document, and if you press on the three dots here, one of my favorite things is you can actually switch it to a dark background to make it easier to read. And then if you open an image, you can do a lot of the same things, but if you click on the three dots, you can also easily adjust the size of the image. So if you're trying to upload an image to a website or somewhere and it's saying it's too big, you can just come in here and play with the width and the height to make the file size smaller. And if it's an image with a clear foreground and background, you can also come into the three dot menu to quickly remove the background from the image. You can also access the new menu bar at the top. So if you did ever want to, let's say, undo or redo anything or use any of these other tools, you can do that as well. And if you didn't already know, Apple finally fixed the Photos app with the iOS and iPadOS 26 updates. So if you want to see what it looks like now, watch this video next. So that's it. Have a great day. Bye.
Well, there's more.
That's a lot of stuff.
Are these features available in portrait view as well as landscape?
I don't know.
And who said that Apple fixed the Photos app? I think they messed it up.
They always
They keep changing it because people don't like it. They keep changing it. I fix it.
To something else they don't like. Well, there are so many tips in these that I think people are going to have to go back through them and pick out the ones they want.
That's the Apple philosophy. It's not give them what they want, it's give them what we want them to have.
Yeah. Uh-huh. All right, fourth video is Ellen Sweeney, iOS tips for seniors, how to add widgets to your iPhone and iPad fast. If you want your iPhone to be easier to use, this simple trick will help. In this step-by-step iPhone tutorial, I'll show you how to add widgets to the Today view so you can see important information like weather, calendar, reminders, and more without opening any apps.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Ellen's Tips for iOS. Today I'm going to show you a really useful trick to make your iPhone or iPad even more helpful. Adding widgets to your Today view. If you've ever wanted a quick glance at information without hunting through apps like your calendar, weather, reminders, this is a great tip. So grab your device, settle in, and let's make your home screen work a little smarter. Let's get started. Before we jump into the steps, I want to explain why this is worth doing, especially for us seniors. Widgets let you see important info at a glance without opening apps. Using the Today view keeps your home screen cleaner, less clutter, fewer icons to scroll through. It's especially helpful if you prefer bigger font, fewer distractions, or want the essentials right at your fingertips. So yes, this is not just a nice to have, it can make your iPhone or iPad easier and more enjoyable to use daily. All right, now let's do it together step by step. I'm working here on an iPad Pro, but the same basic steps apply to your iPhone as well. Make sure your device is unlocked and you're on your home screen. Now we're going to swipe from the left to the right with your finger until you arrive at the Today View screen. On most devices, it's the screen just left of your home screen. Once you're on the Today View, touch and hold a blank part of the screen until you see things begin to jiggle. In the top left corner of the screen, tap on the plus sign, and once you're there, you're going to see an option for all of the widgets that are available to you. Now you can scroll through or use the search bar to find one you like. For example, a weather widget, calendar, reminders, or even a health widget, and then select the widget that you want. So I'm going to tap into the search area, which is right here. I'm going to go ahead and just type in weather, and you'll see that I have 2 weather widgets available for me. I'm going to go ahead and choose the Apple weather. And once I do, you'll see that some widgets come in different sizes, small, medium, and large. And some of them have different information on them. So like here's the forecast. If I swipe, you'll see a bigger forecast area. And then you'll see details. So you can scroll through these and choose the one weather widget that you prefer. For right now, I'm going to go ahead and choose the large widget. And now you'll tap on Add Widget to confirm. Now I've added the widget to the Today View. Once that's happened, you'll see that you can drag the newly added widget up or down to position it where you want to. So I can go ahead and grab this and bring it up and drop it wherever I want it to go. If the widget supports resizing, you may see a gray handlebar on the corner, and this way you can drag the corner and adjust the size of the widget if you want to. I can bring it back so that it's back into the small area, and then when I'm done arranging everything that I want, I can go ahead and tap Done up in the right-hand corner. And that's it. Now your Today View is available for you with handy widgets giving you quick access to info. You can also later on decide if you don't want a widget. And to do that, you're on the widget view, you're on the Today View. If I push and hold on a widget, I'll get the option to remove that widget. I'll go ahead and tap remove, and then I'll have to confirm it. Once I do, the widget's removed, so you can always add or remove any widgets anytime you want using the same steps that we just followed. Here are a few extra pointers that are especially useful. Pick 1 or 2 widgets at first so your Today View isn't overwhelming. You can add more later. Use large size widgets if available. They tend to have bigger text and are easier to read. If you have battery concerns, avoid adding too many widgets that update frequently, like live news or things that constantly refresh the data. Arrange smartly. Put the most important widgets near the top so you don't have to scroll to see them. For example, weather first, then calendar, then maybe reminders. Weigh clutter. The Today View is great, but if you find yourself flipping into it and back all the time, you might prefer fewer widgets and stick to your home screen for essentials. If you upgrade your iOS version, sometimes new widgets appear. Revisit the Add Widget step to explore new ones. And there you have it, a simple, effective way to make your iPhone or iPad feel more personalized and senior-friendly by using the Today View widgets. If this tip helped, Please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I share a new helpful tip every week, especially with seniors in mind. Also, leave a comment below and let me know which widget did you add first. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.
Well, I guess right off on that one, this idea of the Today View itself was interesting to me. So you can just swipe from the left on your home screen. Any other comments or questions? Okay, fifth video is Brooke Tierney. 10 cool Siri features you're probably not using, but you should be. Cool Siri features you're probably not using, but you should be, from location-based reminders and Shazam built right into your iPhone to Harry Potter-inspired fells. Seriously, those underrated Siri tricks can really level up your daily life.
Voice assistants can be a wonderful thing when they work. And although Siri is far from perfect, she can usually do things like answer basic questions, send messages, set timers and alarms, and even calculations and translations. But there are some things that are even cooler and more useful that she can do that I bet you don't even know about, including a bonus tip for Harry Potter fans. The first really useful thing to know is that can adjust basic device settings for you. So whatever device you're on, you can say something like, turn off Bluetooth. And you can do the same thing for things like Wi-Fi, airplane mode, or even your different focus modes. Another one I like to use is phone brightness 50%. And an even handier one is restart my device. You probably already know that you can use Siri to make phone calls, but what's great is you can also have her make those phone calls on speakerphone if you need to be hands-free. So you could just say, call mom on speakerphone. And this is one to remember because if ever you're in an emergency and you can't reach your phone, you can use to call 911 on speakerphone. What's great is the same thing will work when you're answering a call and need to be hands-free. So you could just say, answer on speaker. Something that can be really frustrating is when Siri doesn't understand who you're trying to call, but there's a few ways you can fix this. The first thing is you can tell contact relations. So for example, I could say, Harry Potter is my brother, and then save that Harry Potter is my brother. So now if ever I wanted to say, call my brother, she'll know which contact to call. The other thing you can do though, if you usually refer to someone by their nickname and that confuses, you can go to their contact card, hit edit, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll see add field, and then nickname. So if you click on that, you can actually type in what the person's nickname is, and then when you're asking to message or call this person, you could use either their full name or their nickname. If the issue though is that it keeps mispronouncing the person's name, which can be frustrating and very funny at the same time, what you would do is go back into the contact card, and this time when you hit add field, choose phonetic first name or last name, whichever she's mispronouncing, and then you can actually spell out phonetically how to say the person's name so she knows how to pronounce it. Also, just to clarify, this is not the Harry Potter bonus tip, that's still coming up. It can also help you find any of your devices, including your AirTags. So this can be really helpful when you know your phone is in the same room as you, you just can't find it. So you can just say, find my iPhone. And thankfully this will work even if your phone is in silent mode. Now you probably know it's really easy to ask to set an alarm for you. But if you're like most people, you probably have an incredibly long list of old alarms. And instead of having to tediously go through and delete each one, you can just ask to do it for you. So you would just say, delete all my alarms. And then you're starting with a clean slate. And thankfully, it's smart enough not to delete any of your sleep routines or sleep schedule alarms. Using Siri to remind you of things is one of the most useful features and probably the feature I use the most. But what's even more useful is asking Siri to remind you to do something when you get to or leave a location. So if you want to remember to go to the grocery store to buy milk when you leave home next, you could just say, remind me to go buy milk when I leave home. And this can easily work for other locations as well, as long as the address is saved in contacts. So whether it's your own work address or a friend's house. Remind me to wish Harry a happy birthday when I get to Harry Potter's house. Another great thing you can do with reminders is create deep links in most of Apple's native apps. So let's say I'm in Apple News and I find a really interesting article, but I don't have time to read it now. I could just say, remind me about this. And she'll really quickly create a reminder with a link to the article. However, you can't give it a time, which is really unfortunate. I wish I could say, remind me about this at 5 p.m., for example. Instead, I would have to click in to the reminder that she's created and then manually assign a time. Another really useful thing you can do from most Apple native apps is ask to share something. So let's say I'm in Photos and I want to quickly share this picture of my breakfast. I could say, share this with Harry Potter. I could add any comments if I just keep talking, and then I could quickly send it off. In Safari, you can have Siri read an article for you by just saying, read this.
Go big with Montreal's 2025.
And you even have the options to skip ahead or go back. You can also use Siri to find out which song is playing. And because Apple bought Shazam a few years ago, Shazam is actually now integrated with Siri. So you don't even have to have the Shazam app downloaded. You can just say, what song is playing? If you have a device that supports Apple Intelligence, the great news is it does get a lot smarter with the help of ChatGPT. So if I wanted to ask something a little bit more complicated that I know Siri wouldn't be able to answer, I still can. What should I pack for a trip to Portugal in October? I use this ChatGPT integration all the time. It has seriously made my experience so much better. But if you're curious what other Apple Intelligence features there are, I have made a video on this, so I'll link it down below in case you want to watch that next. Did you know there are 2 Harry Potter spells built into your iPhone? On any Apple device that has a flashlight, you can say Lumos, and it'll turn on your flashlight. And then again, you can say Nox to turn off your flashlight. Let me know if you already knew all of these tips or if there's any I've missed that you can teach me. And if you did get value out of today's video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future tips and tricks. And that's it, so have a great day. Bye.
Al, any comments or questions?
There is one thing she didn't mention. Siri can also read your text and reply to them if you want.
Ah,
And this can be done when you're driving and you're not able to, but you know that there is a text coming in, you want to read that and just have her read it, and she's going to ask you, do you want to reply? And if you say yes, and then she just records and says, you want me to send it? And sends it also.
To who?
oh, that sounds
Not
handy.
now.
To who?
So you say, hey Siri, when you're in your text messages, read message. What do you say? Or sorry, I said it.
No, when you hear
don't say that word.
Sorry, sorry.
when you hear a text come in, You hear the sound for your text message come in, but you're driving. You're not able to look at it. You can ask the lady
Yeah.
to read the last text message to you.
Okay. Got it. Thanks. I'll try it.
Well, that sounds handy.
You can also set up, I forget how you do that. So when you're driving, it automatically replies, "I'm driving now. I'll reply when get to my location," or something like that. I get those replies sometimes. The phone knows when you're moving in a car, so it will do that automatically without you doing anything. Forget how you do that.
It's in the focus mode, driving focus.
There you go.
If you're using CarPlay, you can have it automatically read messages when they arrive.
Oh, I must have that turned off. That would be on the phone too, right?
If you're using CarPlay, go to settings in CarPlay. You'll be amazed at all the settings you can set. Most people don't even realize they can do that.
Okay, moving on. One miscellaneous item this week. How to sign a PDF document received on your iPhone in iOS 26. Now, I knew you could sign documents on a Mac, but I didn't realize you could even do it on an iPhone. So here's the procedure, and this 3-page document will be on the BBS right after this meeting, but we'll give you a quick run through on it. You can sign a document received on an iPhone requiring your signature. Now, this window here has got 4 items on it. First item is a fact PDF document requiring signature sent to the iPhone. As you can see on the arrow pointing here to this requires a signature. Second item shows what that looks like coming in on your iPhone. And if you do a long press on the document to open it, it will open. The item open showing only the first page, but also shows some tools below the page. And if you will press on Quick Look, you'll be able to swipe the page up and get to the signature page. There could be several pages in there, but you swipe up to get to the signature page. The fourth item contains you can press to gain access to mark up the document, which means put your signature in or mark up any other way, but you do have to gain access to markup to proceed with the signature. Next items shows that you can tap on the markup tool to get markup, but the tool which presents itself to get on towards signature. And if you click on the markup tools, it includes a plus sign. If you click on that plus sign, you can add signature, get the add signature button. Tap on the add signature button on the next one, and there you are. You've got the document open, and you can write your name on the document with your finger or with a Apple Pencil, and it will appear anywhere on the document wherever you happen to sign it. And then you can relocate it, and you can resize it and slide it into the location it needs to be for the signature. When you do sign the document, if you look on the left hand, you'll see there's an ellipsis. The more tools, the ellipsis, and having pressed that, you can get to you can undo a signature you don't care for and redo it, or you can say done if you like the signature and you get it put it in the right location, and then finally you decide what to do once you signed it. You can either reply to the sender, which in this case is myself because I sent this, and or you can make a new message out of it or save it to files or discard it, changes. So anyway, it's a quick run through. This will be on the BBS to look more carefully at.
Thank you.
All right. On to questions and answers and social hour.
Any other comments or questions about the program, the videos today, before we end the public recording? Hearing none, I'll say DVMUG members can find a link to the next Q&A session on the BBS, and we'll see you there.